good afternoon. Welcome back, everyone, to our options education webinar series. My name is Tony Zhang. I'm the Chief Strategist here at OptionsPlay, and I hope everyone can hear me now. Awesome. Okay, today we are embarking on our second ChatGPT series on trading with AI. And today we're going to be focusing on how to build a profitable trading strategy using the help of ChatGPT. I'm going to show you how I've been able to supercharge our ability to test and optimize different trading strategies using ChatGPT without any coding experience, without having to have a team of developers and quantitative researchers on your team to be able to replicate some of the things that we have spent many years with the whole team to be able to do just using ChatGPT. So really excited to show you guys what we have in store during today's session. So just a reminder for those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome. We are dedicated every single Thursday afternoon for these options education series to help you better understand how to become a profitable trader. Our focus is on helping you become a sustainable and confident investor to empower you to grow your account in the long run. That means we provide a very broad overview of trading, not just focus on options, but across the board with regards to trading tools, technical analysis, fundamental analysis, risk management, trading psychology, even AI, everything that we feel you might need to be able to become a sustainable and confident trader in the long run. So before we get started, what we are going to discuss here today is purely for education and demonstration purposes. It is not a solicitation or recommendation to buy or sell any of the specific securities that I'll be using as example purposes during today's session. So what we're going to start off with is giving you an overview of kind of what it takes to become a successful trader. This is based on my 18 years of experience as a market strategist, working with thousands of institutional and retail investors over that time. And what I've just generally learned in terms of what sets successful traders apart from everyone else. And specifically, what does technical analysis, or what can technical analysis do to put us on that path towards profitability? And more importantly, what is the solution that we have now with AI that can actually take some of the best opportunities within technical analysis and automate it for us so that we can actually get the best of what we need in order to be that confident, sustainable trader. So I'm going to show you how you can create an indicator, a custom indicator using ChatGPT. We're going to go through some of the indicators that we use here at OptionsPlay. We're going to show you how to backtest and optimize these indicators so that you have more confidence in the actual performance of these indicators before we open this up for Q&A here at the very end. But the primary thing that I want you to be able to walk away from today's session is a clear understanding as to how can AI help me build a strategy that I am confident trading with. Now, just by a show of hands, how many of you are familiar with technical analysis? Please type yes into the chat window if you have some background in technical analysis, and no if you do not have any experience with technical analysis. Okay, I see a vast number of no's, yeses, but a few no's here. So what we are going to do here today is make sure that everyone kind of has that background information before we jump into it. Fantastic. I just want to get a sense for how many people are familiar. And many of you are going to ask me for today's slides, and specifically, you're likely going to want the prompts that I'm using specifically in ChatGPT, and I will be able to provide all of those things to you. If you have an OptionsPlay account, you're going to get the recording and the slides from us when we post it this weekend. But if, let's say, you're joining us for the first time, you don't have an OptionsPlay account yet, you can sign up for your free trial at optionsplay.com/signup, or you can point your phone to that QR code on your screen. That's not going to only get you access to the recording and slides, but today what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how we built the trading indicator scans that we currently use in OptionsPlay. And so what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to replicate the scans that I'm going to show you during today's session that we're going to build together, and you're going to be able to access the scans every single day, meaning what are the which symbols meet the specific scans every single day. That's what the OptionsPlay platform will be able to do. So we're going to not only walk you through the AI tools to give you the knowledge to do this on your own, but give give you access to the indicators that we're going to build during today's session, or rather the output of the indicators that you're going to be able to scan for market opportunities using the OptionsPlay platform. So all of that is available to you if you just simply have a free trial or a membership. But for those of you who are joining us for the first time, start off the free trial. It's 30 days, no credit card required. It'll give you access to the slides and the platform. So during today's session, my goal is to basically help you understand what it takes to become a confident and consistent trader with your own strategy. In short, what that means is how do you become profitable? This is really two parts: confidence, understanding your trading strategy by building it yourself. Following others blindly will almost never work in the long run. I've been doing this for 18 years. I have worked with thousands of traders, and I know many of you have gone from one subscription to the next subscription to the next subscription, following someone else who claims that they are profitable in their trading and they have some secret sauce. And if you just follow them, you'll also be profitable. That almost never works in the long run. Inevitably, what happens is that you follow someone for a period of time, you go through a string of losers, losing trades, and what happens is you lose confidence in that particular strategy or that specific subscription service, you cancel it, you maybe find someone else, you do the same thing, and you go through the cycle over and over and over again. How many of you have found yourself in that particular position? Type 1 into the chat window if you have found yourself in that specific position where you've kind of gone from one service to the next, to the next, to the next, hoping that you're going to be profitable, but inevitably it leads to the same outcome, okay? And it really comes down to the fact that if you don't build your own strategy, or you don't fundamentally understand the strategy that's being traded, and you're just following someone else, that's going to continue to repeat over and over again. Unfortunately, there's no way around that, because there's no way that you're going to have the confidence to continue to trade a strategy after you go through a string of losers if you don't fundamentally understand the strategy itself and potentially adapt as markets change, okay? The second thing is consistency. Your ability to stick to your trading plan regardless of current market conditions and current open positions. That also comes down to understanding your strategy, understanding what you're doing, and to have the confidence to stick to a strategy. So that's really what we're going to try to uncover during today's session. So let's talk a little bit about what sets successful traders apart from everyone else. And this is really comes down to the fact that successful traders, they don't have some kind of secret indicator that you don't. They don't have access to data feeds that that are faster than yours or better than yours, or they are paying $5,000 for some secret indicator. There really is nothing to do with that. And I've worked with thousands of traders, and I can really speak to this. It really comes down to managing their emotions and especially being able to do so during a loss. That's what successful traders are better than unsuccessful traders. That's genuinely what separates profitable traders and non-profitable traders. You look at why do professional traders, generally speaking, are all profitable in the long run. It's because their employers put very strict risk parameters on their trading that basically takes the emotion out of managing risk. And if they don't stick to those risk management rules, they get fired. So they're not in that job for very long if they don't stick to those rules. You don't have that same thing in place as a retail trader. And that's what that's the biggest difference between a retail trader and a professional trader, is someone sits there and manages their risk. And if they don't stick to it, they get fired. Imagine being fired from your brokerage account because you exceeded your risk tolerance. So as retail traders, we do it all the time. We exceed our risk tolerance, but because we don't have someone that's putting in place those rules. And what we do is we have a really tough time managing ourselves and managing the emotions around taking a loss when we should and taking profits, maybe not taking profits too early. That all comes down to managing emotions. So it's easy to come up with a trading plan, but it's incredibly hard to stick to that trading plan, especially if you don't have someone that tells you if you don't stick to it, you're going to get fired. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to put some things in place here today that's going to help you sidestep some of that stuff to some degree, and help you, get to a point where you feel confident in your strategy on your own. And this is really where we turn to technical analysis, because technical analysis provides a objective view on price. What that means is that we're human. We have biases. we tend to look at every single chart with a bias already. We have a view in our head, we're bullish or bearish on a specific stock, and we look at the charts or we look at the fundamentals to try to confirm our bias, rather the other way around. We don't let the chart tell us what we should do. We bring that bias into a chart. So what we're going to try to do today is we're going to try to solve this problem using AI. How we're going to do that is we're going to talk about a strategy creation. I'm going to help you walk through kind of how a strategy may be constructed. We're going to look at how to extract the actual signal itself, meaning let's actually avoid looking at technical indicators, perhaps even avoid looking at the chart itself, just get the signals, right? Because it's a very rules-based approach to using technical analysis. And that's what I like about technical analysis, is that you can apply a rules-based approach. And where we fall short as human beings is that when we have to manually look at indicators ourselves and figure out what the rule was and whether we followed our rule, we tend to introduce our own biases. We tend to introduce our own humanness into it, and we don't follow our own rules. So what we really want to do is we want to only have trade signals. We don't want to have to look at charts. We don't have to look at indicators and interpret it. We want just the signals. And if we just have the signals, we have a better chance of following our rules. And that's what we're going to try to use AI today to do. So there are lots of AI tools out there. You have ChatGPT, you have Bard, you have Claude, you have dozens now of large language models that you can potentially use. I'm going to use ChatGPT because I've tested a lot of these different large language models, and most of them are pretty terrible at coding, especially for technical indicators. ChatGPT is not perfect, but from all the things that I've used, it is by far head and shoulders better than encoding technical indicators than most of the other platforms that I've used. So hopefully that's going to sidestep some of the experimentation that you might have to do with AI to figure out how to go about doing this by simply just using ChatGPT. It's free. It's available to everyone. At least there's a free account that you can use. If you want to pay for it, which I do with $20 a month, you get access to simply faster models and you get access to unlimited use of ChatGPT. I find that worth it for $20 a month, but even if you are willing to pay $20 a month, you can use it for free. You're going to be able to use it to learn indicators and strategies using natural language, but more importantly, you're going to be able to write code. And that is going to be the important part, because we have a whole team of quantitative researchers and developers. Historically speaking, we relied on those quantitative researchers and developers to do this type of coding and testing and optimization in order to get to a point where we have a strategy that we're comfortable with releasing onto our platform. It used to take minimum a few months to take an idea all the way through being able to put it on our platform, meaning I have to write down my thoughts and give it to a researcher, a quantitative researcher. They would have to write some code to do some back testing. They would show me the results. We'd look at those results and do some tweaks. I'd make some suggestions. They would do a ridiculous amount of back testing off those suggestions. We'd look at those results again, see where there seems to be the best performance. Then from there, do some further optimization. And at a point, once we're feeling, we're confident, we feel like we have a good strategy, then we ship it off to the developers for them to code this specific strategy on our platform. ChatGPT basically does all of that for me. I have no coding experience. I have a lot of trading knowledge. I have a lot of knowledge on technical analysis and capital markets, but I'm not a developer and I'm not a quantitative researcher. Yet ChatGPT allows me to test, optimize, and trade different strategies and be able to see where there's performance so that I can give something to a developer. So I basically sidestep most of that process using AI. The second tool I'm going to use here today is TradingView. TradingView is an incredibly powerful platform that ChatGPT can write code for that allows me to easily visualize the indicators that I'm imagining in my brain, generate the trade signals that I'm looking for, and then more importantly, it's also going to allow me to backtest each of these strategies so that I can generally see how they perform before I ship them off to a developer here to do that overall work. So what I'm going to show you here today is what I've done in terms of over the past year or so, some of the work that we've done using ChatGPT and TradingView to build some of the new trade idea scans that we recently just released onto the OptionsPlay platform. So when you log into OptionsPlay, you might notice that under the technical scans, we now have 4 scans that are new. We've recently simplified our trading scans, and the reason for that is so that we can make it a lot more intuitive and easier for people to navigate the trade ideas that are generated on our platform every single day. You have trend following ideas, so bullish and bearish trend following, and you have bullish and bearish counter trend. We're going to go through both of those strategies during today's session and show you how each of those strategies perform using the tools that are available to us at ChatGPT and TradingView. Okay, so let's start off by taking a look at the trend following indicator. And what I'm giving you is a template as to, number one, how you should think about building a strategy, but also some of the things that I think are really important to help you very quickly get to a something that you can easily test and play around with, so that you can easily get to a point where you can feel confident in your overall strategy. So what you do is you write to it in natural language. I always say to investors, you should be able to write down your strategy in plain English. If you're not able to communicate your overall strategy in plain English, then you have some work to do. You need to take some time and take a step back from what you're trading, and take the time and just try to write out what your overall strategy is. That's the first and foremost part in being able to have confidence in your strategies. You need to be able to write it down. So ChatGPT is an incredibly and powerful tool, but it takes some time to kind of take the time and write something down. So here's what I've done. I said, help me write code for TradingView, for a TradingView indicator that will draw a buy signal. And it's important that it draws a buy signal for me, because what I don't want is to have to look at indicators. The more indicators I look at, the more of my own human confirmation bias I'm going to bring into the equation. I want to remove all of that. I just want the end result, right? That's really an important part. So draw me a buy signal based on a trend following trading system. And what I'm trying to do is identify what that trend following system is. I basically said, identify when a stock is in a strong bullish trend by using a 50-period CCI. And when it's above 50, that is when I consider the momentum to be strongly positive. And then look for pullbacks below the 21-day EMA. When this happens, draw a buy arrow underneath, draw a buy arrow underneath the candle so that I can easily visualize and see when a stock has generated a buy signal. Make sure that the indicator only plots the buy arrows and not the two indicators, the CCI and the EMA. Please make the parameters customizable within the indicator so I don't have to change any code in order to optimize and test out different parameters, right? Because I've selected the 50-period CCI, I've selected the 50 threshold to determine whether momentum is positive or not, and I'm using the 21-day exponential moving average. Those were just guesses in terms of starting points, right? I'm going to want to play around with those parameters to see where am I going to get the best performance. And I'm only going to be able to do that if the indicator easily lets me adjust and see how they perform. So what you can do when you get these slides is you can take literally a copy and paste of what I have here, throw it into ChatGPT, and I'll show that to you here in 1 second. Let's just start a new chat here in ChatGPT. I'm going to take what I've done. Oh, whoops. I'm going to take this specific code, or rather prompt. I'm just going to type it into ChatGPT. And as you can see, what it does is it's able to take what I've the prompt that I just wrote, and you can basically do the same thing. Once you have this these slides, you can copy and paste these prompts into ChatGPT, and it's going to be able to start spitting out code that you can use for TradingView. So here it is. Here's the code. It's a Pine script code. And what I'm going to show you is how you can add it to a TradingView chart. So here's a TradingView chart. I have a TradingView chart. I just have a plain chart, nothing on it. I have an RSI here at the bottom. I'll show you kind of why I have the RSI here at the bottom in a second. But basically what you can do here is you see this up arrow, or rather, as you can see, there's a button at the bottom of your TradingView chart that says Pine Editor. That's really where you want to enter this code into that Pine editor. This basically allows you to build your own custom indicator. You basically go to Open, New Indicator. I've already saved this as kind of my trend following buy signal. I've copied and pasted the code that ChatGPT spat out. And what you do is you simply click on save and add to chart, or update on chart rather. So once you kind of take the code that ChatGPT spits out, you open your Pine editor, open a new indicator, save it, whatever you want to call it, and then update chart. And here's that indicator just to show you kind of what that looks like. So what I've done is I basically said, identify when the long period momentum is positive, and then identify when there's a bit of a pullback within a longer term trend to help me identify potential buying opportunities. So now I'm not looking at, you know what, let me just hide this. Let me hide this as well. Forget the RSI for 1 second. Let me just look at the chart here, right? What I want to do is I want to identify pullbacks in a bullish trend that I want to buy. Now, and what this does is it basically removes all of the interpretation that I typically would have to do on an overall chart, or rather an overall indicator, and it just plots it when the indicator actually generates a buy signal. This removes all confirmation bias. This removes all of the subjectivity that comes with a technical analysis when you have to look at an indicator and determine whether did this indicator generate a buy signal or not. You remove all of that work and you just get you know, the outcome that you're really looking for. And more importantly, what I've done is I basically allowed me to quickly make changes to these specific criteria, right? So for example, oops. Why can't I open this? Ah, here we go. So I use the 50 period CCI. I have a threshold of 50 and I am using a 21 period EMA. But what this allows me to do is I can easily say, well, what would I use a 40 period CCI? And what if I use, let's say, a 25 threshold on that buy signal? What if I use, let's say, a 26-day moving average instead of 21-day moving average? I can easily see kind of all the new buy signals change, right? And what I'm basically looking is just very visually, quickly gauge whether I'm getting good buy signals or not. That's a pretty good buy signal. That one's not particularly good. These two are not particularly good. This one's a pretty good one down here. This is a great one over here. Basically, what I'm trying to say is like, where can I identify great opportunities to get into a specific trade very easily using this specific strategy? I think you're going to find that as you use this type of strategy, you know, you can easily type in new symbols and say, okay, let's look at SPY. SPY is always a good place to start. This looks like it's generating really great buy signals, right? You're getting a little bit of a pullback here, and it's telling me to buy. Getting a little bit of a pullback here, telling me to buy. This one didn't quite work out, but that's okay. Not all trading signals are going to work out. But this is where you can easily just visually see how are the buy signals on a specific chart. Great pullback, buying opportunity. Bit of a pullback here, buying, whoops, pull back here, buying opportunity, pull back here, buying opportunity. So this is really kind of doing somewhat what I'm looking for, right? And as I make changes here, I can say, okay, what if I use 25 instead of 50, right? Or as you can see, now I get a lot more buy signals, but maybe they're not as good. Let's take a quick look. I'm getting a lot more buy signals with this, but I'm also getting a lot more bad signals here as well, right? So here's a bad one, here's a bad one, here's not a great one. So, you know, you can basically start quickly tweaking this, right? I don't have to go back to a developer and say, oh, make these changes, let's see how they do, and they'll have to code it before I can see it, and it takes a lot of work. Here's what I'm basically doing here is quickly visually seeing, now this looks pretty good, right? I've got the 40 period CCI with the 40 period threshold and the 21-day moving average. Now I'm getting really great buy signals across the board. I'm getting far fewer false signals here and getting some of the best signals, the best of both worlds. So this allows me to visually see where these opportunities are. And this is how I, you know, start building strategies, right? I'm basically looking at whether I'm going to be able to find some good, clean buy signals, avoid some of the bad ones for the most part. And you're never going to avoid all of them, right? It's about finding a good balance of having enough signals with decent signals. Sometimes if you can find really good signals, but they don't generate very often, then those aren't very useful as well, right? If you have a signal that generates once a year, that's not really useful for you. So it's about finding like a good number of signals with a good mixture of win rates that's going to help you become a better trader. So what we've basically done is we did this work. It took me less than 5 minutes to write out the prompt. Within a few minutes, I had a indicator that I can visually see that I started playing around with these specific indicators. And I quickly started honing on some of the parameters that made sense to me, that gave me a pretty good number of buy signals that seemed all pretty good. It didn't avoid all of the worst. It avoided some of the worst ones, but it didn't stop me from buying all of the bad ones. But it gave me a really good starting point for trading. And this, I all did that in under 5 minutes. This is something that used to take weeks on end to convey a trading strategy to someone, have someone code it up, do some back testing, show me some of the results, and I couldn't see those results visually, right? I was only seeing those in the form of numbers, like average win rate, those types of things. So this basically allows me to quickly test ideas that I have. So many of you may have trading strategies that you've used or utilized in the past, and maybe you want to say like, hey, I've been following someone who uses a specific indicator, a specific type of parameter. I'm not sure how well it performs. Why don't I code it up into TradingView? Let me show it to me visually. Forget looking at the indicators. Let me just generate a buy signal on my chart. When it generates a buy signal, generate a sell signal. When it generates a sell signal, let me see when it actually triggers. And that's going to help me determine whether it's a strategy that I think is worth continuing to work on or not. Maybe you're finding that it doesn't generate particularly great buy signals. And maybe for those reasons, you might want to move on and maybe try a different strategy. And this allows you to just quickly, type a new symbol and see kind of when something generates a buy signal, when it generates a sell signal, and see kind of how a strategy overall performs. So you can quickly switch symbols and see when it generates that buy signal and whether or not it's a strategy that you want to continue working on. So that's a really good starting point for our trend following strategy here. And what you can do is you can find that in OptionsPlay. So when you log into OptionsPlay, you have bullish trend following, right? So let's look at kind of bullish trend following. You have 11 stocks today that are liquid that generated these buy signals. So what we basically did is we took all this work. We then, got to a point where we optimize it to the parameters that we liked. And then we now have those within OptionsPlay so that you can look at kind of which stocks are in a strong bullish trend that have recently pulled back here, that have that opportunity to be a buying opportunity for a specific stock where the risk to reward looks fairly favorable. You're looking for these pullbacks and you're looking for a potential continuation of that overall trend. So the OptionsPlay platform basically spits out all of the stocks that meet that specific criteria on that given day. Let's move on. Trading strategies from a technical analysis perspective generally falls into 2 categories. You're either following a trend, meaning you've identified a trend, you're trying to follow that trend, and what you're trying to do is trying to have the best risk to reward possible on that trend following strategy. And then vice versa on counter trend. This is really when you're trying to identify the turn of a trend, meaning something is bearish, you think it's going to turn bullish, or you're trying to identify that turn as early as possible. So this is really where let's work on a new indicator. I'd like to find counter trend trade ideas. I like to identify when a stock is oversold on both a short and long-term time frame. I tend to find that most indicators will tell you when something's overbought or oversold. But just that alone, if anyone's ever tested any indicator, no matter what indicator you use, no matter what parameter you use, it's never going to have particularly good performance just simply using overbought or oversold. However, what I have recently found is that if you use overbought and oversold on multiple time frames, and you found something is overbought on a short and long-term time frame, you have a much higher probability of success on that reversal of a bullish to bearish trend or bearish to bullish trend. So what I'm going to use here is I'm going to use a 10-period CCI, which is looking at 2 weeks worth of pricing, and I'm using a 50-period CCI, which is using 10 weeks worth of pricing. So 2 weeks versus 10 weeks, I'm looking at 2 different time frames. And I'm looking at the average of the RSI on these two timeframes. And the average across these two timeframes has to be below the oversold territory, which is 30 on RSI. And if that happens, plot a buy arrow. I have found that this is one of the most successful counter trend strategies that I've been able to find. And trust me, I have tested a lot of different counter trend trading strategies. This is the one that works the best from all of my testing. Do not plot the RSI indicator and make it so that I can modify the thresholds within the indicator and not have to change the code. And this follows that concept of let's remove the indicator, let's remove the subjectivity from the trading in order to generate a much cleaner signals and signals that remove kind of my subjectivity from it. I'm just getting objectively when something meets this very clear rules that I've defined, and only show me when something has actually happened when that happens. So for example, if I copy and paste this specific prompt, let's take this prompt here. Let's throw it into ChatGPT. And then within a couple of minutes, or less than a couple of minutes, I'm going to be able to generate a code that I can plug into TradingView, and I can quickly see a potential counter trend ideas. And I see someone's already in the chat windows very actively doing this for Thinkorswim. And I will say, ChatGPT is also capable of writing ThinkScript indicators as well for Thinkorswim. Many of you are using those Thinkorswim as a platform. So fantastic use of modifying what I've written for Thinkorswim. Thank you so much, Joseph. So what I can do is I can take a copy of this specific code, I can plug it into TradingView, and I'll just show you what that looks like here. This is the counter trend buy signal. So as you can see, this is the counter trend buy signal here. Now, one thing that you're going to notice here is that when things get oversold, you get a lot of buy signals and you get a lot of false signals here as well. And this is really important to understand, is that what you want to do is you want to buy at the very bottom, right? You want to buy these bottom opportunities. And there are many bottom opportunities. As you can see, you generate a lot of great buying opportunities at the very bottom. The problem with this indicator is that you also generate a lot of false bottoming indicators. So you start generating buy signals here. These are obviously not particularly great ones. You get a lot of also buy signals down here, which is where you need to do some filtering. And there isn't a great way to do that unless what I did is I found that RSI is a great way to filter this. What do I mean by that? Meaning, as you can see, throughout all of these buy signals, what I want to do is I want to look for a divergence. So for example, what I want to see is I want to see lower lows in price, but momentum is no longer making lower lows. And as you can see, that actually only happens here at the very end of this buy signal. All of these buy signals, none of them have been positive momentum or positive divergence. So it's only on this very last one when you start getting positive divergence. And that's really kind of a great way to filter out these counter trend moves. Sometimes you just don't end up getting that that positive divergence, and you never end up generating a buy signal. But they are fantastic at filtering out false signals here. So here, you get a bunch of buy signals here, but you never get that positive divergence. So this never works out. But basically, you get a signal that never works out here. Same thing here. You get all of these buy signals, but throughout this, as the price makes lower lows, RSI continues to make lower lows. So these are not valid buy signals. Let's keep looking again. You get a bunch of buy signals here, but RSI keeps moving lower. You eventually get a little bit of positive divergence here near the bottom. It ends up being a decent trade. It doesn't end up being a very profitable trade in the long run, but it ends up being a decent trade. And then vice versa, if you look at all these buy signals down here, it only ends up being right here do you get a positive divergence, which ends up being effectively the very bottom. So only when you get this a positive divergence do I take these counter trend moves. And that's why we currently have a bullish position here in Lululemon, because it generated a counter trend buy signal. And we had that positive divergence with momentum, which is the filter that I need to kind of make sure that I don't take all of these false signals. So this is something that's also built into the OptionsPlay platform. So as you can see, when you go to the OptionsPlay platform, you will have under trade ideas, you have counter trend ideas. So let's look at bullish counter trend ideas, for example. Let's look at, today there aren't many, there's only one. Let's look at kind of, if we look at liquidity, we get 3 if we look at some of the less liquid names. UUP, the dollar index, generated a buy signal here. And note what's interesting about the UUP here is that you actually have positive divergence, lower lows in price, no longer being confirmed by lower lows in momentum. This is a valid buy signal from a counter trend perspective. So these are some of the things that we have built into our OptionsPlay platform, and we only were able to do this because we're able to visually see this, right? If you just simply took every single counter trend buy signal, you'd have a very terrible strategy because you would have had all these false buy signals. But only when we were able to look at it visually and we were to say, hey, a lot of these kind of don't make sense. Only when you get this positive divergence here does it seem to, generate the true buy signal at the very bottom, right? We notice that if we only get that buy signal at the very bottom when there's that positive divergence, are we able to actually catch things at the very bottom? But what's really interesting is that we are catching things at the very bottom, meaning this is the earliest possible identification of a trend reversal that we're able to do with this new indicator. Nothing else has been able to identify these turns as quickly as these counter trend signals with the divergence filter. And only when that happens have we been able to find trades where we are basically catching trades at the very bottom and turning it when the thing is about to turn over. And what someone's saying, what if you just, is the RSI? Yeah, I'm using a 14-period RSI here at the bottom. So you can use a standard RSI for this filtering process. Okay, and lastly, what I want to do is I want to show you how to test and optimize, right? So you build something like this. Let's say you take one of our counter trend or trend following signals, and you want to test and optimize it. So this is really where you can use TradingView's strategy backtester while modifying your strategy and seeing how it performs based on historical prices. Now, the one limitation for TradingView is that you're limited to doing one signal in one time frame at a time when it comes to backtesting. That's pretty significantly limited, but I think for a lot of traders that have no backtesting capabilities, this is a really good starting point because you can easily canvas a pretty large number of symbols very quickly and seeing how something might trade. So for example, what I did is basically I said, can you take the counter trend indicator and turn it into a strategy that I can backtest using a 30-day holding period? So basically what it does is every single time it generates a buy signal, I will it will basically buy the underlying security, hold it for 30 days, and it'll calculate for me the overall strategy. So what I do is I basically take this prompt, plug it into ChatGPT, and it will then spit out a strategy code. So what I mean by that is when you go to TradingView and you go to your Pine editor, when you go to open, you can open an indicator, you can open a strategy, or you can open a library. What we're going to do here is we're going to open up a new strategy. And a strategy allows you to not just look at the indicator on the chart, but what it'll do is it will backtest the strategy for you. So it will buy based on your rules that you've set forth in the strategy as to when to buy, when to sell. It'll follow those rules and show you what the performance of that strategy is. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So I already have that queued up here. So let's go back to SPY. SPY is always a good starting point for these types of strategies. So as you can see, if I use the counter trend trade that on SPY, this is when it bought, this is when it sold. And you can actually see on your chart when it bought, when it sold very quickly. So you can see, okay, bought here, sold there, bought here, sold there. And what it does is it shows you kind of how the strategy is performed over time, right? So as you can see, some of the important metrics to pay attention to is what percentage of the trades were profitable, what is the profit factor, and those are the types of things that are important for you to see. You can actually audit the trades in terms of the performance itself, You can look at the list of trades as to when, each trade, what the profit factor is, how much money you made or lost on the specific trade, what the maximum drawdown was on each individual trade. You can do that using the strategy. But a good starting point is figuring out trades that have a high probability of success. So 76% on SPY is a really good starting point on these types of trades. You can change the time frames and say, okay, maybe you're a day trader and you want to test it out on a 5-minute trade and see how these perform. Doesn't work so well on a 5-minute chart, but works a lot better here on a daily chart. So this also gives you an idea as far as whether this strategy works on different time frames or not. So I always looked at SPY, QQQ to start off with, seeing how they perform there. 72% profitable on QQQ. That's a good starting point. Maybe look at some of the big names like NVIDIA. 56% not so great there. And you basically look at kind of different symbols and see how they're performing across these types of strategies. And you can make changes to it, right? Maybe instead of holding it for 30 days, you hold it for 60 days or 15 days, and you see how these strategies perform. And that's kind of how you get to the basis of finding opportunities like this for your trading. But this is how you start building your own strategy. And you are only going to be able to get confidence in your strategy if you build it yourself. When you build it yourself, you understand why it's working, how it's working, and when it's not working, you can make adjustments, right? Perhaps the market conditions aren't right for your strategy, and you can identify that because you built your own strategy, and you can do that using using the ChatGPT and TradingView to help you do your initial testing on your overall strategy. So what I'm showing you is kind of the guts of what we've been doing for the past few months. And the end result of that is all available to you here on the OptionsPlay platform. So these trade ideas, we have bullish and bearish counter trend ideas, counter trend and trend following ideas. We also have the CCI rally and dip and bullish trend and rally and bearish trend. That was something that I showed you guys here probably a couple of months ago on our trend following trading strategy. But these are all available to you on the OptionsPlay platform. We recently did some consolidation of our trading strategies to make it a lot more easier to navigate, because ultimately you're trading either bullish or bearish, you're either following a trend or you're trading counter trend. And what we want to do is make it a lot easier for you to identify what type of ideas they are, so that you can quickly say, okay, I want to trade counter trend, show me only counter trend opportunities, maybe filter out some of the less liquid names, so that when I'm looking at, I'm only trading at stuff that is liquid and is counter trend. With that covers what I wanted to share with you here today. What I'll do at this point is I'll open this up for Q&A. But before I do, I just want to remind everyone, if you want access to the prompts that I've used to build out these codes using ChatGPT, simply sign up for your free trial here at OptionsPlay, and we'll send you a notification when we upload the video and the slides this weekend, so that you can download them, follow us along, and be able to utilize it for your own trading. Okay, let's open this up for Q&A. If you want part 1 of this course, you can find it on our YouTube channel, on OptionsPlay's YouTube channel. How can we incorporate the fundamental criteria? So this is also something, the last ChatGPT video that I did about 3 weeks ago is when we looked at fundamentals. And I showed you how to use ChatGPT to calculate fundamentals and screen for fundamentals. So please take a look at that. Now, with the fundamentals, what you do need to find is a source for those fundamentals. The free sources that are available to you that ChatGPT can pull from, I have found, are not particularly reliable. So and I showed you guys in the previous session that I rely on a third-party service to buy my fundamental data. There are lots of them out there. And the thing about fundamental data is that predominantly it's all standardized. So it doesn't really matter what platform you use, it's just as long as something that's easily exportable, something that you can screen for, is a good starting point. But you need to start with clean data before you can have ChatGPT do that analysis for you. And the session that we hosted about 3 weeks ago, I did exactly that. I showed you where we got our data, how we downloaded that data, and how we had ChatGPT calculate opportunities using that data. Can all of these codes be used on any other trading software like tastytrade? Tastytrade does not allow for custom indicators. Thinkorswim does, TradeStation does. Both ChatGPT is able to write code for those two platforms. You'd be surprised at how many platforms ChatGPT is capable of writing indicators for. So you can just ask ChatGPT, say, hey, can you, if you have a platform that accepts custom code, just say, hey, can you write code for me in this specific language? And it'll tell you whether it can do it or not. But you'd be surprised it's able to do a lot. Do we post the strategy test code in the Pine editor as well? Yes. So in the strategy Pine editor, right, you can either open a new indicator or a new strategy. So if you wanted to backtest it, you have to, first of all, you have to have ChatGPT write a strategy code, right? And then you have to add it as a strategy. And once you add it as a strategy, it will basically pop up under the strategy tester and show you kind of the equity curve, the profitability, and all of that stuff. But if it's just an indicator, it'll just show up on your chart. Can you please let me know what's included in the options play score? So a little different off topic here, but the question is, what is the options play score? The options play score is really a expected outcome metric. It's a risk to reward metric weighted by the probability of each possibility. So what we're looking at is, what is your risk to reward? What is the probability of that? And whether you have positive expected outcome, no, kind of neutral expected outcome or negative expected outcome. And that's what the color coding is. Red, yellow, green gives you a sense for whether you have a positive expected outcome, negative expected outcome, or a neutral expected outcome. Will last week's education on cover calls be uploaded to YouTube? If I'm not mistaken, that should be already there, but if it's not, yeah, no, it's already, oh, I'm sorry, it was never posted. I will take a look at that and make sure we get posted that. For some reason, that never got posted last week. I'll make sure that we do that. Use ChatGPT with IBKR. Does IBKR give you the ability to write custom indicators? If it does, probably, but I'm not 100% sure. Any other questions? How is the short constructed? So the score is proprietary to us. I'm not going to share how we construct that score, but I can tell you what we're trying to achieve with that score. If there are no other questions, I just want to thank everyone for your time here today. This is incredibly powerful tools that ChatGPT has now allowed anyone with no coding experience, with basic technical analysis knowledge, to be able to start exploring and building truly your own strategy and put yourself onto the path towards profitability, and not just be and not just have to rely on other people and what they're thinking and what they're doing in order to try to achieve success. I've, in my 17, 18 years of doing this, I can't tell you enough how many times someone has told me, hey, I'm following this person, it's working really well, only to tell me 2 months later, hey, I've lost a bunch of money, I've got to move on, I got to try some other service. It's a pattern that repeats itself over and over again. So this is the foundation for building your own strategy. And I would recommend, there's a second video that I recently did on ChatGPT where I showed you how to build a trading plan and stick to your trading plan. When you can combine those two in conjunction with each other, when you're able to find trading signals like the one that we built into our trading platform, and you might say, hey, well, I don't know how you got your trading signals. Well, I just showed you here today how we built our trading signals. These counter trend trades, this exact criteria is exactly how we built our trend following trade ideas. And this criteria is exactly how we built our counter trend trade ideas. There's nothing or it is proprietary to us, but I'm sharing it with everyone here today so that you can see how we built our trend following models, how we built our counter trend models, what we have done to kind of optimize them and test them and improve them, so that you can get the end results of all of that within the OptionsPlay platform. And then more importantly, once you find these ideas and you're ready to trade them, I also showed you how you can take an option strategy. So let's say I want to take a look at I don't know, for example, let's say I want to take a look at Fortinet, which I think generated a bearish counter trend idea. Yeah, bearish counter trend idea, right? And let's say I want to buy this put spread. I showed you a few weeks ago how you can basically take a screenshot of Fortinet. I gave you an exact prompt that you can follow to basically take a screenshot of the Fortinet trade that you're about to make. Let ChatGPT analyze the trade so that you can see if you followed your rules for entering a trade, and then that's going to help you understand whether this is a trade that you should make or not. When you use these tools in conjunction with each other, you're going to have a much powerful tool in order to be able to follow your own trading rules and remove the subjectivity that we always add to our trading strategies that kind of take us away from following our own rules that we've set aside. Like I said, I cannot stress enough, what separates successful traders from everyone else is not their indicator, it's not their strategy, it's how they are able to stick to their overall rules and manage their emotions. And one of the ways to help you remove that emotional element of it is to remove yourself from the decision-making process. ChatGPT has been an incredibly powerful tool to help you make some of the decisions on your behalf, or at least show you if you're breaking any rules, how many of your own rules are you breaking, so that you have a much more what's the right word? A much more conscious view of what you're doing every single time you place a trade. So with that, thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great trading day. Someone's asking me for that video, so let me just find that video real quick. I believe this is the video. Let me just make sure that this is the right one. No, that is the fundamentals one. Here, I'll give you the fun. A lot of people ask me for the fundamentals, so here's the one on fundamentals. How I use ChatGPT to analyze fundamentals. That's in the chat window now. And then I will get you the other one. And here's the other one. You know what I'll do? I will make sure that we email kind of the whole series of ChatGPT videos in the email that we send out on this weekend when we post it onto YouTube. All right, instead of me trying to find it right now and send it to you in chat, what we'll do is we'll incorporate kind of the whole series from ChatGPT into the email that we send out to all of you that are either members or on a free trial when we post the video here this weekend. With that, thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great trading day, and I'll see you guys here next week.